Hello dear friends, I am Dr. Masoom Raza from Department of Library Information Science, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Today I will be discussing public libraries in general. As you know, we have 4 different types of libraries. We have academic library. Academic library system, you must have seen we have 3 different types of academic libraries. We have a school library, we have a college library, we have a university library. And second type, most prominent type is public library. Public library system is a huge system. Basically this library is meant for the people, meant for the public of a particular village or a town or a city or a state or a country. Number 3, we have a national library. National library is basically that is established by the government of a respective country, and it is a knowledge deposit, is a deposit library. It is a huge repository of knowledge or knowledge produced in a particular country. And the 4th type is a special library. Special library is special in many contexts. It can be special either on the basis of a subject or on the basis of a clientele or on the basis of a user or on the basis of any other criteria, on the basis of type of collection also. Just suppose a library holds only a particular kind of material. Just suppose the library holds only manuscripts, we can call it a special library because it holds only manuscripts. Just suppose a library is only meant for blinds, we can call it a special library because it is catering to only the requirement of blinds. And third, if a library is holding a collection on a particular subject, just suppose a medical library, or just suppose a library for especially meant for the sciences, or library especially library meant for the agriculture sciences. So, if it holds a collection on a particular subject, that library also becomes special. But today's talk we will focus on a public library, what public library is, what was the need of public library, and what public library is doing, for whom it is doing and what it is doing. So, let me tell you what exactly the public library is. Public library in general, if I say, it is meant for the people in general. Meant for the people in general means, let us come back to the UNESCO manifesto that was given in 1949 and later on revised in 1972. What it says that the public libraries that should be maintained from the government funds, purely from the government funds. So, when I say that it has to be maintained from the government funds, means it should not charge directly from any user for any service. That is a wonderful thing, means the public libraries should not charge anything from any user for any service. This is the beauty of a public library, means the government should take the privilege of providing the service or providing the facilities of a public library to a common user, common client or a common citizen of a country. Number 3, the public libraries are meant for everyone irrespective of caste, color, creed and sex, means there is no distinction who can make use of it. The age is not a distinction, color is not a distinction, sex is not a distinction, means anybody can make use of a public library freely and to the maximum limit. So, and most important, I told you, the public libraries cannot charge anything directly from the user for any service which they are rendering. So, you must, this is briefly you must have understood what a public library is. Means a library is not going to charge anything from you, it will be maintained by the government, maintained by the state government or maintained by the local government or maintained by the government of the country. How it will be managed, that is a little tricky issue. In case of National Library, I told you it is purely it is purely maintained by the government of a respective country, whereas in case of public library it has to be maintained by the local government, either by the local government or by the state government. Public libraries, they normally face financial crunch because of these issues. We will discuss it later on. Let me tell you the public libraries, especially I will just divide my talk in 3 different parts. I will talk about the clientele, I will talk about the collection, I will talk about the services. Who are the user of public libraries? So, public libraries, as I told you, anybody can be the member of a public library. Means you start from a small child to a person who is old enough. So, everybody can become the member of a public library, whether you talk about the housewife, you talk about the lawyer, you talk about the engineer, you talk about the teacher, you talk about the student, you talk about anybody in a society, those who are living in your society, any section of it, any strata of the society, anybody can make use of the public library. But the worst part is we are not aware of it. Sometimes the students, if students or research scholars or a teacher or even somebody living in our society, they do not know that public library is freely available. I mean, you can make use of the collection without paying any charge. That is the beauty of it. And there is, I told you, there is no distinction of sex, caste, color, creed. There is no distinction in the public library. It cannot charge anything from you. And third most important thing is, the public libraries have to be maintained from the government funds. Again, the question is how it will be maintained. Maintaining is, it has to means ultimately the state government or the local government which charges certain tax or cess. So, though that amount, some portion of that amount goes to the library for the development of public libraries. So, this is about how the public library runs. So, before discussing this, let me tell you about the collection of public library. The collection, when we talk about the collection of public library, the collection of public library, just imagine, just I told you about the clientele, or I told you about the user, means a huge strata of the society, means it starts from students to housewife to lawyer to engineer to doctor to any farmer, anybody can make use of a public library. You just imagine what you are going to keep in your library to manage all these people from different sections of the society. So, means you need to have something for everyone. You need to have something for everyone, means you should have some, means in your collection you should have something for farmers also, you should have something for housewives also, you should have something for the students also, you should have something for lawyer also, you should have something for doctors also, you should have something for everyone in the society. So, it becomes really a difficult task to arrange collection on a varied subjects of varied interest to just house in the library and to maintain or to render the service effectively and efficiently. So, that is the biggest task of the public library. Rather, I can tell you the biggest system is a public library system. Out of all these 4 types of libraries, you will find the public library system is a huge system. You just imagine in a state, I will give you one example of a state. Just suppose I am talking about UP. UP will have a state library, state central library, and every state central library will have, just suppose UP is one state, it will have 70, just suppose it is having 70 districts. So, every district will have a public library. You just imagine if it is having 70 districts. So, it will have branches in 70 districts. So, state central library is one. It can be, if it is a bigger state, you can have 2 libraries. Just suppose in case of UP, we have one in Lucknow and one in Allahabad, and then for every district you need a public library. And again, coming down from district, you just come down to town. For every town you need again a public library. For cities you need a public library. For villages, or if you have a tehsil, or if you have a talukas, or if you have villages, for every village also you need a public library. You just imagine such a huge system it is. You right from the state central library to district library to coming to talukas libraries, then to coming to panchayat libraries, and then coming to village libraries. It is a huge system. So, that type of system, if it has to be replicated in 30 states or 40 states, you just imagine the expenses which really public library needs for managing things, for organizing things, managing things and disseminating things. So, it needs a huge money for handling all these activities. But again how it will be managed, that becomes again an issue. So, for that matter I need to discuss little bit of library legislation. You must be knowing about the library legislation. Basically, library legislation act was enacted for the purpose that the public libraries should run in a better state. It should not face the financial crunches. It should not be defaced, or it should not be in a position that it is not able to give value services to their clients. So, for that matter what was thought of, that every library legislation act should be passed in every state, but again the onus is on the state. The state should enact these laws, get it passed through their parliament, state houses, and once it is passed from the state houses, then the state government should implement it properly. Means running a huge system without finances, proper finances, or without having any recurring budget, it becomes literally difficult to operate public library system. Why I am calling it a system? I told you, because it is not one library. I am talking about a state central library, I am talking about district libraries, I am talking about your city library, taluka library, panchayat libraries, village libraries. It is a huge system. So, to run a huge system you require a lot of expenses and you need proper financing. So, for that matter Library Legislation Act is becomes the need of a special, this Library Legislation Act becomes more important for us. Right now about 19 to 20 states have enacted these laws. They have got it passed from the houses, but still it has not been properly implemented. So, that is a tragedy with the public libraries, but the more important is you should learn how it operates and what are the services. The next part I told you, the second part I was talking about the collection. Since the public libraries are catering to the requirement of huge type of clients, huge type of clientele, means the client range varies from housewife to lawyer. I told you lawyer, engineer, doctor, student. So, they need to have everything, they need to have something for everyone, and when they have to acquire very diverse kind of books on it for a different type of user, you need a lot of that working also. Means you need to plan properly, you need to see how you are going to plan your resources, because acquisition has to be very strong. If your acquisition is not very strong, you will be losing a particular section from the society. Just suppose you are not keeping anything for housewives, they will never visit your library, and that you cannot afford to. If you are not keeping anything for doctors and engineers, they will never come to your library. If you are not keeping anything for, basically the public libraries are meant for basically for refreshing. Means a user from any strata, from any section of the society, they can come to the public libraries. They can use that public library as a auxiliary educational institution. We also call it as a auxiliary educational institution. Most of the people in our society, they cannot afford, most of the students you must have seen, they cannot afford proper education, formal education. They cannot go to schools, they cannot go to colleges, they cannot go to universities. So, for that matter what they are doing is, those students, they study from open schools and or go through, take up the open examinations, but ultimately from where they will be getting the resources, ultimately they have to come to the public libraries, make use of the public resources, and equip themselves to prepare for the exams and write their examination and get the degrees. So, we also, just looking at this scenario, we also call public libraries as people's university. It is in general we call it as a people's university, and it is the center of informal education. Where formal education is not there, you can take admission from anywhere, and you can just simply take the membership of a public library. You can sit in the public library, you can make use of the resources without paying anything, because as per the manifesto, I told you, UNESCO manifesto, it is very clear that you are not supposed to pay anything for anything, any service. So, that advantage any user can take that advantage, come to the library, make use of the collection, and still if you require anything, you can just talk to the librarian. If you need a particular book or you need a particular book on any subject, you can talk to the librarian, and the librarian will be, if the financial position is strong, he or she will be in a position to buy that book for you, and you can take the advantage of a public library. This is something about the collection. So, you can see that this is a public library holds a sumptuous collection on a diverse subject for diverse kind of users. So, this is the collection of a public library. Then coming to services part. Services, I told you, means when you have a diverse kind of clientele, you have to give a diverse kind of services also. So, the best part on the first foremost, which is liked by most of the user, one is lending service. Lending service is basically also known as issue and return service. This issue and return service is given to all the clienteles, where every user who becomes a member of a public library is authorized to carry about 3 to 4 books, normally for a week or 15 days or so. So, that service is given by the public library, and lending service is enjoyed by almost all the client from the from different sections of the society. The second most important is the public libraries are also used for reference service. If you need any reference service, whether you need a short range reference service or you need a long range reference service, you can anytime you can come to the library and you can make use of the reference desk. You can tell your queries, you can inform about your queries, and your informed queries will be, they will take care of the queries, they can respond it maybe within seconds, within minutes, within an hour, or maybe in a day or two. So, both the type of reference service you can enjoy the privilege of reference service also. These public libraries, they offer you advisory service also. You need any sort of advice, or maybe sometimes you need some bibliography on a particular subject, or maybe you are in need of some books on a particular subject, particular topic, that also you can take help of public libraries. So, even advisory service is possible in your public libraries. Then even your most important information service is also possible, quite possible. Although it is not a special library, it cannot give you the services like a special library, but at least whatever minimum possible they can do, at least those information service also can be provided to you. So, at least what you benefit you enjoy from a public library is you enjoy the benefit of this reference service, you enjoy the even the bibliographic service also. The bibliographic service also, sometimes the public libraries, if they have good number of staff, they can just prepare a bibliography on a particular topic or a particular subject as required by the user, and even the bibliographic service can be provided to the user. So, bibliographic service, advisory service, reference service, all these services are along with the lending service. This lending service will be provided to all the user irrespective of any caste, color, creed and sex. So, that you can enjoy in a public library. The biggest hurdle in the public library system is that most of the states, they have not enacted library legislation acts, and once the library legislation acts have not been enacted, so they are not able to garner a lot of funds. If they are not able to garner funds for the public libraries, there the system is almost on the verge of collapsing. Means you do not have a good collection in a state central library. Further, you do not have, because the branches ramifications you will find the branches in the district library, further ramifications you will find in the block, panchayat, and even in the village libraries, those things will not be available. So, once the things crumble and that is not in shape, so ultimately what do you expect from a user? Because the onus of educating the people in a state, that lies on public library system. If your public library system is strong, your people will be more literate, whether formally, I am talking about whether formal education or you talk about informal education. Formal education, those who can afford, they are going to the schools, they are going to the colleges, they are going to the universities. But when I am talking about informal education, means the people, those who want to make use of the library, if your library is not in such a state, is not in such a condition that any student or researcher can make use of it, so they become helpless, they are not able to make use of it. So, if your public library system, normally it is assumed that if your public library system is strong enough, it can support education, it can support anybody practicing lawyer, or it can support anybody along with the leisure. More important is, along with the leisure, it should support students, researchers, it should support doctors, it should support people from different professions also. So, if it is able to do that, it is successful in its mission. If it is not able to do that, the system is collapsing, and your state, any state which is not doing it, that state will show the lower literacy rate. Just talk about the Kerala. Just suppose if I give you example, you talk about Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they have a very old and very robust system, public library system. And if they have this robust public library system, you see even the literacy count also you can see. The literacy rate especially in Tamil Nadu and Kerala will be higher. Definitely in the south you see Karnataka is also on a right path that way. So their literacy rate is higher than other states. And why other states are lagging? Because they are not emphasizing on the public library system. And your public library system has to be strong enough, they have to be robust enough to see that a normal average student who is not able to afford formal education, at least he should make use of the public library and acquire the education informally. So this is a auxiliary, I told you this public libraries work like a auxiliary educational institutions, at least that is important, and that the state government should look after it. And if the state government is not able to manage it, then the system will definitely collapse. Public libraries also work as a good cultural center also. Public libraries, because normally what happens is in a society, the public libraries basically what the requirement is, all of us, whether intermingling has to be there, all of us belonging to different culture or belonging to different groups, at least when they come to the public libraries, they feel a very holistic kind of culture is there, where everybody wants to learn about each other culture. And if something which a public library can preserve, those culture, those heritage can be preserved. Local, especially I am talking about just suppose a public library, especially operating in a village or in a particular town. If they feel something can be preserved, a culture is here and a culture needs to be preserved, that a public library has to do. But again the question is, it should have sufficient funds to do that. You should have a informal gathering, should invite all the people from different groups, different religion, different sects, and at least they can create a cultural hub where intermixing, dialogue, talking about social activities, social events, that should be the main focus. And if a public library is successful in doing it, so at least a cultural harmony can be maintained in a particular sector. Particular sector means if I am talking about a village, I am talking about a town, I am talking about a panchayat, at least that thing can be encouraged with the help of a public library. Public libraries are also mastering one more thing. You must have heard of adult education. So the people, those who are illiterates, they do not know how to read and write. The public libraries normally they will just drive them out of their homes and they will take them to the library, and they will start educating them slowly gradually with the help of the government programs. They will start educating them slowly gradually, so that they become from illiterate, they become neo-literates. Neo-literate is just a new literate who is gradually learning how to read and write. And once they become neo-literate, it becomes easy for them to once they start reading with a newspaper or a magazine or something. Once they start understanding things, they start coming to the library. So this is one more attraction of a public library, where you can invite those people also, those who are illiterates, those who are not making the use of the public libraries. So again problem is, focus is one has to go to the villages, convince those people that this library is basically meant for you people, and you do not have to pay anything for this, because if whatever taxes you are paying, whatever taxes which you are paying to the government, and out of those taxes we are maintaining this library. And the cess which you are paying, out of those cess we are maintaining this public library. So this is a free service provided by the government. There will be no charge for any service. So once they understand these things, they start coming to the library, and once they start coming to the library, you slowly gradually see what is their level of understanding, what is their level of literacy. If they are literate, no issue, you just take them, drive them towards a book, and just try to find out what are their interest areas. And once you know that what are their interest areas, you develop your acquisition policy. You develop your acquisition policy so that you can cater to the requirement of a village or a town or a block So this is what you can do. Next, even these public libraries, I told you, they are especially for a good use by the students also, especially children also. You will find in all the public libraries, especially good public libraries, you will find children section also. Children section just from the age of 5. From the age of 5 to 11, you will find the people visiting the public library, and they have a special children section where they are trying to keep audio and video documents, where narration, sometimes they keep some librarian also there, where narrations are possible. They will just tell them the story, or storytelling hour is there, where the kids, they come to the library, where some stories are narrated, or maybe some audio or video movies are shown, so that they become they are attached to the library, and they start coming to the library regularly. And once they start coming to the library, slowly gradually you can teach them how to make use of the books. And once the book become book savvy, once they are interested in the library, once they are interested in the activities of the library, they will become good researchers, good scholars, who can make best use of the library. So, you have to catch them at a young stage. So, with all these things, you can see the public library is meant for almost every strata, every section of the society, whether we talk about children, we talk about adults, we talk about the students, we talk about lawyers, we talk about housewives, it is meant for each and every one. So, this is the beauty of a public library, and I told you these are cultural hubs also. These are cultural hubs where all the sections from the different society, they can come at one place, they can discuss it out, they can have a social gathering, they can have social talks on any social event, or maybe any social topic, whatever they, maybe you talk about anything which is a stigma on a society, the librarian can arrange a social discussion on that, and just find out what is disturbing them. And on those talks, social talks can be arranged, social gatherings can be arranged, small melas can be arranged. This is how the public libraries, they try to maintain the recreation among the people, recreation wherever they are housed, at least wherever they are placed, at least they should be able to recreate people by arranging different activities or providing books of their interest. This is what a public library can do. So, one more activity of a public library is normally normally you must have seen the public libraries were establishing in villages not possible, then normally we have a mobile library service, we call it as extension service. So, that is basically the public libraries through mobile vans, they go to those villages and provide the services to the local clientele also. So, in the end I'll conclude what a public library is. Public library is a library basically meant for the people from all the sections of the society, and they render you all the services free of cost, without any charge, and there is no distinction of caste, color, creed and sex. It provides you all the services, right from lending, reference, advisory, information, bibliographic, all these services are provided by the public library system. And most important is, this is a cultural hub, this is an auxiliary educational institution, and this is a place where you can meet, you can recreate yourself, you can refresh yourself, you can learn yourself. So, it is a learning center, and even the public library is having the onus that whatever cultural heritage or traditional things which they can preserve from the local people, that it should be in a position to preserve those things also for the benefit of the people. Means at least the culture should also be preserved by the public library system, or public libraries in a different town, different cities, different places. This is what they can do. Public libraries, I told you, public libraries, they are rendering or they are doing rendering a huge service which you do not expect from other libraries, and especially if I talk about academic libraries, they are doing for their own clientele, means only the students and teachers or the scholars that are able to take the advantage of academic libraries. But in a public library system, you must have seen the people from different strata, different sections of the society, they are making use of it. So, it is a huge task to cater to requirement of such a huge stuff, and that too the section, people belonging to different sections of the society. So, that is something really needs to be addressed. And public libraries, I told you, once since it has to be maintained from the public fund, it is free of charge, it is provides all the services freely, it does not charge anything directly from any user. And public libraries are your educational centers, basically auxiliary educational institutions, or you can say educational centers where anybody can have the informal education. Even the public libraries, I told you, they are your socio-cultural hub, where people can sit, they can interact, they can have gatherings, social gatherings, they can have social talks, they can discuss it, they can have the dialogues. Those things can be enjoyed in your public libraries only. And even your public library is providing some very prominent service, we call it as extension service. So, that extension service is normally where, just suppose I am not able to reach to a village, the public libraries through their mobile van service, they will reach out to those village, they will educate the user how to make use of a library, and then slowly gradually they will bring them to the library. And this is the tough job which a public library system they are doing it, and this is how they are trying to just improve on the literacy rate of any state or any country. So, public libraries, they are the biggest contributor in terms of enhancing the literacy rate either in the state or in a country. So, the government should focus especially on the public library system, how to develop a robust system with a good financial system, and we are making the Public Library Legislation Act mandatory for all the states. But since it is a state subject, so till date only 19 or 20 states they have enacted Library Legislation Act, and other states they are still pondering over it, what to do and how to do it. So, I told you the states which have this robust system, which have this Library Legislation Act, they are doing it very good, they are very successful, and they have a good literacy rate, whereas in other states you will find a very low literacy rate is there, just because their public library system is not equipped, they do not have a Public Library Legislation Act, or they are not able to finance their public libraries properly. So, in terms of services, if I have to say, just I am concluding things. In terms of services, if I have to say, the public library system with whatever finances available, they are providing all the services, and you just imagine the beauty of it. They are providing with minimum finances or whatever the limited finances, they are providing services to all the sections of the society. Whether you talk about a student, you talk about a housewife, talk about lawyer, doctor, engineer, anybody, just think about anyone, you all are free to make use of the public library without paying any direct charges to anyone for any service. So, this is the beauty of a public library. You can have a lending service, you can have reference service, you can have advisory service, you can have referral service, all those services you can make use of it. And even the public libraries, they are taking this onus that if a user is not able to come to the public libraries are reaching out to the user. They are reaching out to the user, they are educating them, they are providing service at their place, whether it is a village or a town, they are providing the services, lending service, or sometimes you must have seen mobile libraries visiting a particular village and parking it at one place, then giving them the option that come to the library, come to the van, make use of the collections which they are holding in the vans, and this is how they are trying to attract the user towards a public library. So, this is you must have seen, this is some of the beautiful things about the public libraries, and this is also this public library system also promotes the adult education programs also. So, in the end, I hope you must have liked this lecture, and thank you very much.